Hello and welcome to another quick tips video as part of... So today we're going to be looking at a checklist that we need to follow when we're writing reflections. If you've come straight from my creative writing workshop, beautiful. But if this is the first video you're watching, I strongly recommend going and watching the creative writing video, because near the end we talk a little bit about reflections, and it's also specific to a particular creative piece. So for today's lesson, because this is just a quick tips video, I'm going to be using that creative story. But in the future, I'll be creating a much longer lesson on how to write reflections. And I'll use my 4-unit English creative and reflection piece to help you guys understand that. But because your trials are approaching really quickly and there's a lot of content I want to get through, I wanted to make a quick checklist video that will hopefully help you guys put yourself on the right track in the most efficient manner possible. And that creative piece will also help you write a better creative if that's what you're working towards. So I'll link it either in the description below or up here somewhere if that's doable. So let's put 5 minutes on the clock and let's get started. Step number 1. Purpose. If you're like me and you're the type of person who doesn't really like to write things with a particular purpose in mind, because it inhibits their creativity, and would rather go along the train of something that's, really fun and exciting and entertaining for them, great, that's exactly what I do as well. But once you have your first draft of your exciting, entertaining thing, in your redrafts, you need to start making sure, what is the point that I'm trying to make? What is it exactly that I'm trying to say with this piece? And what that will help you do is establish a much better structure and use language techniques that can help you convey that message a little bit better. And when you're doing that in your creative piece, it'll make writing your reflection a lot easier. So we can say that the purpose of that particular coming of age story was that we were trying to show how by empathizing with someone else, you can become more compassionate yourself. Step number 2, structural features. Now, like I said, purpose is important because once you have your purpose set, now you can use the exact structures that you need to achieve that particular purpose. So in your reflection, the very next thing you can talk about are the particular structural features that you employed within your creative. So using Molly and me, the particular structures or structural features that we employed were linear storytelling and also first-person narration. Now, I'm burning through purpose and structure because we already discussed that in the previous video. And today I want to focus more on motifs, the audience, and the rubric. So that's what we're going to be looking at in the remainder of the time. Step number 3, motifs. So in the previous video, I talked about how advanced English and, just HSC English markers really like seeing a subtle nod to the hint of, kind of this character or your character transforming or developing a new worldview. And the best way to do that is to develop a motif running throughout your piece or having an extended metaphor. Those are the kind of techniques that markers are looking for, and once again, they factor in as large macro techniques. And when you're incorporating extended metaphors or motifs within your creative piece, you'll be able to not only distinguish your creative from other people, but also your reflection, and show your marker that you have a very strong understanding of how to use language features to better communicate character intentions, and you'll be able to better showcase that you know how to show, not tell. So for example, in Molly and Me, we didn't really set out to, have a particular motif in place, but what we did end up doing is elevating a particular literary object or literary prop within the story to a symbol. And what I'm talking about is the diapers or the dirty diapers. So earlier in the story, the protagonist refers to them as accidents or this person pooing everywhere, but near the end, it becomes this symbol of, the protagonist having grown and also kind of matured a little bit in that process to go and now help his mum, with the diapers rather than complaining about it. So using motifs is a great way to distinguish your story and also to show not tell. It's a great technique to be able to show not tell. And another thing you can also do is elevate just basic props into, a symbol to show that this character has kind of changed. Step number 4, audience. Now, this is the particular section where a lot of students falter because they write something like, this story is great for young adults, or this story is great for mature readers. That's not what you want to do. What you want to do is, you want to be a lot more specific. So I'm now quickly going to pause the time and going to show you what I wrote for my audience section as part of my reflection. But keep in mind, this is for my 4-unit reflection, so it's completely different to Molly and Me, but I'll explain anything that doesn't particularly make sense or give you context. This purpose of advocating personal openness to growth, so that was the purpose of my 4-unit story, marries well with the Overland Literary Magazine's mission to publish underrepresented perspectives on issues rarely given space in traditional media. So that was the exact tagline or mission statement of that particular magazine. Its audience, being largely mature and literary, but also looking beyond mainstream opinions, could draw particular inspiration from my work's aim of instilling active idealism amongst older readers in a culture that tends to relegate idealism to the young. Nonetheless, the narrative equally galvanizes a youthful reader facing the kinds of global and societal pressures that can make the individual feel ineffectual. Ultimately, a transplant aims to provoke self-awareness amongst readers by offering parallels between the intimately focalized world of the text and the broader ways in which autonomy and choice can meaningfully shape their lives. So essentially, your story should be great for everyone. But you can't just say that, oh, my story is great for everyone. So what I said was that the readers of this particular magazine are older and literary and mature, and they can take this particular message away from my story. But the youthful readers can also take this message away and see hope and understand the importance of autonomy and making choices and taking actions in their lives to create change. Unpause. So what you can see from here is that every step of the way, your purpose, the purpose of your story, needs to be really, really strong, and it's going to meld together with the audience. So one thing you guys could do is look at what is the particular message that this specific age demographic would take versus this one. And then maybe find a specific magazine. There are heaps of just Google literary magazines online. You can even use Overland, which was the literary magazine I chose. But when you have that in your reflection, you're immediately communicating to your marker that you have a very strong idea of what your purpose is, of the message you're trying to convey, and the kind of audience you're speaking to. And lastly, step number 5, the rubric. So in your connection to the rubric, depending on, if you've been asked to do it as a Module C task, or if the Module C task you've been asked to do is to write from the perspective of a character from Module B or Module A or from Text and Human Experiences, I strongly recommend that you have a very good idea of what each rubric is roughly about. So you know the key terms and the significant ideas that each rubric is getting you to understand. Now, if I had to connect Molly and me to, Module C, which you need to be doing regardless, because it's going to be a Module C task, so you have to explain how, studying texts and understanding the particular structures and how learning your particular text in Module C helped you understand the power of language and how the process of drafting and redrafting helped you become a better writer. So that's a very concise way of explaining your connection with Module C and its relevance to you, but it needs to be in your reflection. And I think, I don't know if we've gone a little bit over time. I think we've gone just a little bit, but that's it. Here's a little bonus tip at the end, as always. If you were to connect your particular creative with, Text and Human Experiences or Module B, I strongly recommend having a thorough connection to the entire Advanced English syllabus, not just restricting yourself to one particular area. So connecting it to the text, of course, but also the actual module that you have studied. So for Text and Human Experiences, if I were to connect Molly and me, I would use that line which goes something along the lines of how texts help us understand the anomalies, inconsistencies, and paradoxes in human behavior, inviting us to see ourselves and our world differently. That's pretty much what the purpose of, that coming of age story was. If we were to connect it with Module B, so I did T.S. Eliot, I would say something along the lines of how important it is to marry structure, purpose, language features, and form with one another to create a text that is a whole in terms of the meaning and value that it creates. And if your text is looking at a timeless concern, and if you've imbued it with textual integrity, your text will have enduring value. And you can give an example of T.S. Eliot's work and then show how you were inspired by how well he's married his structure, form, language features to his purpose, and that's what you were inspired by to do the same with your own text. So those were just 2 quick ways that you could have connected your creative to the Advanced English syllabus that you have been studying. And that's it for this quick tips video, guys. If you would like any other quick tips videos, please let me know in the comments below. And as always, remember to take a shower. That's good.